Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to This Week in A.B.A.T E. For those of you that were watching, the first thing that you saw there was a documentary from Vice on the women in Iran, women bikers in Iran. It's interesting. You know, we talk about fighting for motorcyclist rights, and here in the United States, women represent the largest growing ridership, motorcycle owners and riders. Yet over in Iran, women are fighting just for the right to be able to ride. The police, the government won't issue them licenses, so they get pulled over, as you heard in that clip, by the quote-unquote morality police. And when they get pulled over by the morality police, they're harassed. That lady speaking about how her helmet was thrown down and broken. They tried seizing her motorcycle, but the people raised up and said, no, you're not going to seize her bike. And they caused the police to have to leave there in Iran. So there you have grassroots in action in Iran, where citizens are starting to step up and say, you know what, maybe women should have the right to ride. But it's something that we don't even think about. So if you get about 8 to 10 minutes, go on YouTube, search for Women Bikers in Iran. It's a documentary done by Vice. I highly recommend everybody who's interested in the motorcycle rights movement watch that 8-minute video, because you're going to see some things that are pretty impressive. These women go and they meet in secret up in the hills riding dirt bikes to teach themselves how to ride. Talks about the generational gaps in how they ride and how it's starting to become the norm over there. It's pretty cool to watch. Highly recommend it. It's Women Bikers in Iran, documentary by Vice. Check it out. So, with that said, welcome into this week's show, July 28th, 2021. My name is Josh Witkowski. I'm the State Legislative Coordinator for A.B.A.T.E of Illinois. Joining me a little bit later, right here in my studio/home office, will be Theo Graff, the newly elected president for Salt Creek ABATE. Myself and Chris will be having a little bit of a chat with him. And then moving on from there, you know, you can see all the issues that we've got going on this fine evening. We're going to talk about what's happened down at the State House. We're going to talk about some federal things going on. But as always, we're going to start off talking about none other than the Facebook stars thing yet again. So, like I've said, you can see the pinned comment down there. I've said this for the last 3 shows. Facebook is doing the stars thing. It's basically a virtual tip jar. First show we did about 4 weeks ago, we had people that donated stars. That money goes directly back to A.B.A.T.E of Illinois. So if you're participating in the stars program, you like what you see, or you just want to support motorcycle rights in the state of Illinois, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on delay, you can donate stars, and all that money goes directly back into A.B.A.T.E of Illinois. Facebook wants us mentioning it on the broadcasts. Well, we're on their platform. So there you go. There's our weekly mention of it. Hopefully we're not doing it too much longer, but it is appreciated. Those of you that tip, when you tip, we do call it out. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much for that. Moving on to the next thing. State House news on A.B.A.T.E bills. Before we get to that, let's talk about who's out there in the crowd. I see Blackhawk in the house, Illini, Kaskaskia Valley, Salt Creek, Theo checking in from his phone, even though he's literally sitting here right next to me. And a little bit of a glitch there. So anyway, State House news on bills. One of the 4 A.B.A.T.E bills that we're keeping an eye on actually did get signed by the governor. And it was House Bill 96. House Bill 96 was signed by the governor. It concerned vehicle tinting. This was a bill that, the way it was originally stated, would have banned vehicle tinting. It would have banned tinted windscreens on motorcycles. That wasn't the intent of the author. The author just needed to get some dummy language in there so he could then edit it and get the stuff in there to get what he actually wanted passed. And what he wanted passed, as Representative Maurice West, what he actually wanted was an exclusion for people with traumatic brain injuries who have light sensitivity due to TBI are able to do darker than legal tint. After he made the changes and addressed debate concerns, we agreed to help support it, so it was a bill that we supported. Talked to all of our friends, asked them to vote for it. It sailed through both houses. The governor signed it. I believe it was late last week, or maybe even been Monday this week. Things are kind of starting to run together. So one of the 4 have been signed. The other 3 still outstanding. House Bill 656 is the motorcycle passenger bill. which if you saw our feed, we were with Representative Tom Bennett last week. He was the author on that bill, or the primary sponsor, I should say, on that bill. We're still waiting on that one to get signed by the governor. We're still waiting on Senate Bill 1231, which takes the large off-road vehicles, sets them in their own class. These are larger than what are currently legal in the state of Illinois. It's going to allow Polaris to sell these ridiculously large vehicles along with Mahindra, but they're not going to be allowed on DNR trails. DNR trails making up about 50% of the trails in the state of Illinois from what we can tell, but they'll still be able to use all sorts of private trails and go farm field to farm field just like everybody else does. So that's Senate Bill 1231. And then, of course, the big one, the one that everybody loves to still talk about, Senate Bill 58. This is your trailer plate bill, ladies and gentlemen. This is the one that takes the TA plate and takes it from $118 down to $36. When the governor signs it, it will be effective January 1 of next year. So for those of you that are waiting to do your trailer plates, January 1 sounds like a good date to start doing the trailer plates and get yourselves all caught up. Something of note on the trailer plate thing, I'm starting to see that lovely post go around on Facebook again. The guy that claims to have been able to have defeated the state of Illinois by having everybody do the semi-trailer plate. You have my word to you as the state legislative coordinator for A.B.A.T.E of Illinois. If you've done the semi-trailer plate, next year is not going to be very good to you. I really, really suggest you go ahead and get it reclassified as the TA plate that it should be, so that way you don't run into any trouble next year. There's a lot of legal issues in using the TA plate, and I believe that you're going to see those legal issues come up. So if you're on a ST plate and it's not being pulled by a tractor, I'd highly suggest that you get off the ST plate and go to the TA plate. That's all I'm going to say on that one right now. So, having gone on with that, the other aspects going on, while our state house is kind of away, we're still dealing with federal issues. And if those of you that have been following the MRF at all, the MRF has put out a few things regarding the highway bill. So I thought we would take a few minutes here just to talk about the highway bill. The highway bill is usually every 5 years, give or take. It has different names: transportation bill, smart bill, I think is what the new one's being called. There's a version of the transportation bill that passed the House and got sent over to the Senate. And the MRF, Motorcycle Riders Foundation, our friends out in D.C., tried getting an amendment in that basically stated you cannot fund anything that excludes motorcycles or that would lead to enforcement against specific vehicle classes. Now, this is language that's been in the highway bill for a long time. They tried getting it addressed in a different way this way, and unfortunately, the way they went about it, a parliamentarian ruled it out of order, in addition to about 400 other things. Now, does this mean that it's dead? No. There are ways of still getting it in. They're still going to be working on it, but that is the latest update on the highway bill. Also of note in the highway bill, there's a requirement in the House version that passed that there be a autonomous vehicle committee. And in that autonomous vehicle committee, there's actually a seat for a motorcycle rights organization, which means that motorcyclists will have direct input into the future of transportation with regards to autonomous vehicles. So it's very important that we try to see that carried over through the Senate bill. So here in Illinois, Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, I can tell you that Senator Duckworth has worked with us quite a bit already on autonomous vehicle issues. We're reaching out to her office. We're hoping to see her office pick up and help us out with making sure that that piece of the House bill makes it through Senate, either in the actual Senate bill itself or through some variance of concurrence, which is parliamentary speak for, just trying to get it through the right way. But that's what's going on in D.C. with the highway bill. We talked about right to repair last week. We'll see what we talk about here the next time that we do this show, which, by the way, we're looking 2 weeks from now. There will not be a show next week. We'll cover that again here later on. Skip, I see your message there. All righty, Chicago A.B.A.T.E in the house. We've got 10 Mile Creek. Chris checking in with Duquesne. Why is it Chris and Theo are checking in when you both are right here anyway? But anyhow, speaking of Chris, are you ready to do your events? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you none other than our state public relations coordinator, Chris Hansen, with this week's events as part of This Week in A.B.A.T E. Chris, take it away.
Well, I will start this off by saying, as a huge ZZ Top fan, it would be a mistake if I did not send my condolences and say rest in peace to Dusty Hill, who passed away last night in his sleep. He was only 72 years old. I am a huge ZZ Top fan, so that one was not fun to read this morning. But going into events around the state, and God knows, for fear of my life and Terry Smith chasing me around with a crowbar, I'm going to start this off. The executive board and the board of directors meetings for A.B.A.T.E of Illinois have changed to August 14th. Same time, same location, Route 66 Hotel. It's just a new date, August 14th, so make sure your e-board members and your BOD reps have that noted. Not that they show up on the wrong date. Those have changed. So our first event we're going to talk about is going to be the fourth Central Illinois A.B.A.T.E chip trip. As everybody knows, you have to make all of the chip trips to be eligible for the prize. This one is the fourth one at the Crescent City Tap, July 30th from 7 to 9. They've got a bike night going on, raffles and drawings. That's from 7 to 9 again. So make sure you're there. You get your chip. If you get all the chips, because you have to attend all these chip trips, you're eligible. You could win up to $1,000. Yeah, exactly. Chip trips screwing up everywhere. And the lowest price is $250. So make sure you're out there at Crescent City Tap. Then we're going to move on to July 30th through August 1st. It is a Four Corners rally being held by Salt Creek ABATE, Eastern Illinois ABATE, and Heart of Illinois ABATE at Moore's Mill. It is a whole weekend rally. There's vendors, bike games, water slides, adult games, dunk tanks, burnout pit, bring your own beer. Admissions $25, camper fees $25. You save $5 on each if you get advanced tickets. There is just a ton going on. You can see it on the flyer. They've got live music, the whole deal. There are some rules. You can see those at the bottom of the flyer. Contact any of those chapters if you have questions. Sonia, specifically, there's an email down there you can send in for information and requests as well. You do have to be 18 years or older if you're an ABATE member. Otherwise, it's 21 years and up, open to the public. But if you want to sneak away during that weekend and head up, you can go to the Northwest Region Convergence Run. This is on July 31st. It's $10 per person. Your chapter can start wherever, whenever they want. You make up your own route. You make up your own stops. You do your own thing. The only thing is that it's 8 chapters, 1 final destination. To participate in this, you do have to be a chapter in the Northwest region. You just got to get to the same spot, but you get there your own way. They do have the 3-headed monster food truck there that's going to be offering beef, pork, chicken, and vegan stuff. The chapters with the most members on their run will be awarded the traveling trophy. So Sandy works real hard at putting this together every year. So if you're in the Northwest region, make sure you are there. Also on the 31st is the Piasaw Gateway 35th Anniversary Poker Run. Sign up is at the 501 Blues Club. And there's going to be an award for the largest group in attendance. You can call Paulette or Mark for more information on that. But congrats to them on 35 years. That is a long time to be having a run. Then we're going to move into August. August 1st is the Open Roads A.B.A.T.E Summer Book Ride. They've been doing these all summer. You meet up, you ride to the different spots in their books. This one is going to be a meeting at the Country Kitchen in Somonauk for breakfast. Kickstands are going to be up at 9 a.m. Speaking of open roads, this past Saturday was Linda Olson's birthday, so happy birthday to her, just because she's getting mad every time I tell everybody. So there you go, Linda. That everybody is welcome to ride with them on this ride. That's August 1st. Kickstands up at 9. And then on the 7th of August, Lincoln Land A.B.A.T.E has got their second annual river run. It's $10 a person, 15 per couple, and all the proceeds from this run go to the state A.B.A.T.E of Illinois. Kickstands are up at 9:30. Everybody meets at 9. And if it's raining, they do have the rain date of August 14th with all the same information. And I mention this every week because I think this is the most important part. On the trip home, you get ice cream. I don't know what else you could possibly want. Then we're going to move on. Again, I know this is a touchy subject, but it's part of the world that we live in now. So If you are looking to get vaccinated, the 2020 state representative of the year, Stephanie Kiffelwood, is hosting a vaccination clinic. This is on Sunday, August 8th from 10 to 2 at International Paper in Aurora. This is for people 12 and older. It is a Pfizer vaccine. 12 and older can get it. So if you're looking to get vaccinated, make sure you're there Sunday, August 8th from 10 to 2. And that, again, is at International Paper in Aurora. Then we will move on to August 28th, which is going to be the 10 Mile Creek Old Timers Run. This got rescheduled from July 10th. Saturday, August 18th, kickstands are up at 10 with sign-up starting at 9. It's at the depot. And if you join A.B.A.T.E that day, you ride for free in the ride. All money raised goes to fighting for rights for motorcyclists, so make sure you are there for that. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about, we've talked about the chip trips all the way through for the last couple weeks. It is the Central Illinois A.B.A.T.E 39th annual bash, and they've now added the first annual motorcycle swap meet to this. It's August 27th, 28th, 29th. There is just a ton going on. It's at the Knox County Fairgrounds. Gates open Friday at 5 p.m. It's $5 a day for entry. They've got live music. They've got frozen T-shirt contests. They've got giveaways, mystery rides, field events. They've got adult entertainment. They've got church going on. That seems weird, adult entertainment in church, all right. Rib cook-offs, auctions, the whole deal. So, I mean, you can see everything going on there. If you have any questions, get a hold of Grizz. He can answer any questions that you've got. And, again, they've added the motorcycle swap meet this year, all sponsored by Miller Lite and Reman's Harley Davidson. So stop at all the chip trips, get to the bash to get your last chip, and maybe win $1,000. So that is what's going on around the state. So, Josh, you can take back control.
All right, back before I take control, Chris, we've got a request from Southern Illinois that you post these flyers to the A.B.A.T.E page. Are we going to be able to do that?
I should be able to do that. Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg have been very weird about posting pictures on stuff, but I will definitely try that, yes.
All righty, thank you very much, Chris. And we'll be bringing Chris back here a little bit later on, actually, and not too much longer here. As you can see right next to me, I am joined by Theo Graff. Theo is the new president for Salt Creek ABATE. It was brought up last week talking about him being elected president there. So we thought we would bring him on. As you can see, he's just slightly younger than most of us. So Theo, first of all, welcome to This Week in A.B.A.T.E.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Tell everybody out there just exactly how old you are and how long you've been a member of A.B.A.T.E of Illinois.
I'm 23 years old. I've been in this organization since 2018. Started going to Lincoln Land A.B.A.T E chapter meetings, and then when it started going to both Salt Creek and Lincoln Land, but I've been a member of Salt Creek ever since. About my second meeting, my president at the time asked me to be a BOD rep, and since I had an idea what parliamentary procedure was, it was an easy choice for me, so I started doing it for them as well as being the legislative director for the chapter for quite some time.
Alrighty, so there you have it. I mean, he's 23, new president of a chapter, been BOD, been legislative for his chapter up there in Lincoln, Illinois. But we brought him on specifically because we had promised last week that we would talk with some of the younger members of A.B.A.T.E. That seems to be an interest of our group. So if you're down there in the comments and you've got a question for Theo, go ahead and fire it off. The sooner the better, so that way I can see it. There is a little bit of a delay from when we're on to when we see what you guys have. What you're actually watching out there is about 10 seconds behind what we're putting out. So just go ahead and fire it off in the comments. I'll keep an eye out for it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to bring back Chris Hansen, and we're going to have a little conversation with Theo here about the younger leaders in A.B.A.T.E of Illinois, and hopefully it is helpful to the rest of our membership. So, Chris, how we doing, man? You there? You're here. Oh, you're here. All right. So we've got Theo here with us. He just got in telling us that he's been with us for a few years now, 3 years. He's 23 years old, new president of his chapter, been his BOD rep for at least a couple of years that I can think of. What do we want to talk to Theo about here, Chris?
I don't know. We can start off with good luck to him because I'm actually only 18 years old and I look like I'm 60. So have fun with that.
Yeah, we'll have that.
No, I mean, I don't know if it went out yet. I know that I would encourage people to read Ryan's article in the upcoming August newsletter, because he does talk about the younger riders and younger members of A.B.A.T.E. And I guess, Theo, I'm curious your thoughts on this, because you made a very good point that a lot of people, and I mean, I've done it too, specifically talk about sport bike riders and try and focus on that while maybe forgetting some of the other stuff, when we should just be, in reality, be talking about motorcycle rights. And who cares about the age? We love motorcycles, we ride motorcycles, and we fight for the rights of motorcyclists. Regardless of age, it should just be the same conversation no matter what it is. And I guess I'm curious is, how are you going to lead your chapter in doing that very thing?
Well, obviously, I'm a sport bike rider, and the majority of my other members are Harley riders or cruiser riders. I'm just going to run it like any other chapter that I can think of. I mean, I have limited experience in running this, so I'm just going to go off of what previous presidents have done. I'm going to keep everything fair as it is. I'm not going to treat anybody differently because of that. And I don't really have any real ideas. I'm just going by the seat of my pants right now, but I'm definitely going to be keeping everything fair from one rider to another. I don't care what background they have at all, as long as they care about motorcycles rights, whether they ride or not. I'm going to be welcoming them into a chapter and work with them and get events on that they want to see and what they want to be a part of and what they want to do. Just get more stuff going on for our chapter. So, and like the Four Corners Rally, that's one of them that we've been was brought to our attention to help put on, and we've been doing our best with that.
Excellent. I like it.
So we've got some questions that are going on down there in the comments, Theo, from Mary Jo out there in the Illini chapter. She wants to know what got you interested in joining A.B.A.T.E.
It's not that I found A.B.A.T.E, it's that A.B.A.T.E found me. When I first started and wanted to get riding, I talked to sales guys at World of Powersports in Springfield, and he told me to talk to this one guy. And this one guy told me all the information I needed to know how to get my motorcycle license. And that's how I got it through. And that person was Ski. I first started going to Lincoln Land A.B.A.T.E chapters, and I started to like what they were doing. I felt really invited and loved what I was seeing. And I was already, before then, when I started A.B.A.T.E, I was well into politics. I love politics at the time. I still do. And it just made sense to me as a rider to want to go into that, kind of world. And from there on, I still go to Lincoln Land A.B.A.T chapter meetings when I can, but I mainly, obviously, now go to Salt Creek. But I didn't find it. I didn't found it. It found me. So it just made too much sense for me not to join A.B.A.T from as an organization as it does to give rights for motorcycles. And with me just at that time getting into it, it just made too much sense not to join it.
All right. Well, let's ask you, what kind of issues do you think that we should be, what kind of issues you think pertain more to riders in your particular age group?
Well, the riders in my age group, they want to do a lot of fun things on their bikes, whether it, be stunning, racing, going to a track, going down a tail drag, and things like that. I get asked a lot of questions from people I ride with. When's A.B.A.T going to be implementing lane splitting, making it legal in Illinois? And I tell them, A.B.A.T's not at the BOD levels, kind of iffy with that, and I tell them how to do it, and of course they're like, oh, once I start telling them to join the A.B.A.T chapter and try to get something moving that they want to in their groups, they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. They kind of want us as an organization to do stuff that they want them to do, but whatever's new, like as other states are doing it like that, they just want to do fun and new things. Always fun and new things. And one thing I think A.B.A.T is not really grasping on some things is events. Things like the state party. Any age is going to love that. But other events don't really pertain and are kind of old school, and not a lot of younger riders really love it. I'm still trying to think of ways that can bring in new riders that they want to be a part of and say, hey, you know what? These guys are having fun. I want to have fun, and I want to join the A.B.A.T. So I think that's one thing we need to do is figure out what events get young people in.
So speaking of thinking of events, Dennis Byron, our former state coordinator last year and the year before that, he comments down there in the comments for you to think outside of the box, Theo. Status quo will not move the needle. So that's what Dennis has to say. I don't know if he's got any particular ideas about thinking outside of the box. I'll keep an eye down there in the comments for it. Mary Jo says thank you for answering her questions. Chris, what other questions you got for this young man?
Well, I mean, we can bounce up, and I mean, I can answer to his, like he's talking about, where you talk to younger riders, regardless of what they ride, and then yeah, you bring up A.B.A.T.E and joining A.B.A.T.E, and it's like he's getting the answer. No, 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 I'm not interested in that. I mean, we do a lot of work up in this area between myself, Duquesne, and then Pat Jones in Chicago. We do a lot of work with the toy shops out of Arlington Heights. Mike Taylor owns that. I know, Josh, you're familiar with him. So between our two chapters, we do a lot of work with him, and he's done some good in bringing younger riders into some of our events and all that. And so slowly we're making those connections. But you say that you're talking about events and what is it going to take to get younger riders interested in them. So, and I mean, I know you said you're thinking of ways about that, but I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot and say if there's one thing that you're looking at from an event standpoint that A.B.A.T.E isn't doing, whether it's a chapter level or a state level, I mean, if you could change one thing about what we are or are not doing, like Dennis talks about, thinking outside the box, what is one thing you would change about those events that would bring in younger riders?
I would bring the fact more destination rides, more going somewhere fun. Not so much to a tavern or a bar, things like that. More of like let's go to the Lake of the Ozarks. Let's go to Utica. Let's go down to Southern Illinois, find some good roads down there. Go to Grafton, go to Alton. Let's go to St. Louis. Let's go to Chicago. A fun and exciting destination, not some same old place. Now there's some good places out in the middle of nowhere that are fantastic food and things like that, but something that's just different that they haven't experienced yet or they want to go back to. I'll answer that. Just generalize destination rides. That's where I would do.
Have you had any luck in doing that with Salt Creek thus far?
We've been struggling to get some rides. Now we would go up to Utica. We've had some success with that, although we had done that last year and with COVID obviously, and some of us here in Logan County where I'm at, we are involved in with the agriculture side of things, and we did that kind of in the fall, so it was the wrong time for that. But we're shooting our shot everywhere and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. But we haven't found a whole lot of success. But with me in the reins, hopefully I can definitely push something in the right direction. I hope.
Yeah, and I think there's good camaraderie there because I mean I think that as a motorcyclist, everybody likes to ride. I mean that's again where Ryan kind of focused his articles, like you're talking, change these things up because you appease everybody. And when you say, hey, let's go ride, I don't care if you're 20, I don't care if you're 50. If you have a motorcycle and there's an open road, you're going to want to go. So I don't think that's a bad idea. I like that idea, especially if it brings in different groups of people where we all, ultimately at the end of the day have the same love, and that's riding our motorcycles. And if it just so happens that in that bringing of different groups, you introduce more people to ride with and you get more of that camaraderie going. And in the interim, say, way, this is why you can do the things you do, or this is why you have the freedoms you have because of A.B.A.T.E. I think it can only work itself out and get bigger.
Very good. So while we've got Theo here, I want to remind our people out there that are watching, this isn't the only younger leader in A.B.A.T.E that we're going to be bringing on. When we come back in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August 11th, I'm actually going to have Robert Riddell, who is the BOD rep for Blackhawk chapter up in the Quad Cities area, trying to bring in people from different parts of the state and see what they're seeing in their part of the state. So we're going to have kind of a part 2 of this conversation with him. But while I've still got Theo here, let's talk about some of the events that we've got going on. He mentioned events and trying to bring people in through them. Now, I know for a fact that this guy has been busting his butt on this Four Corners rally that's happening this weekend. So, Theo, would you talk a little bit about that Four Corners rally and why you got active with it and what you're hoping to accomplish and what you think about it might particularly pertain to riders that are younger?
I will say this. I could definitely be doing more with the Four Corners Rally, because when I look at somebody like Kurt and Sonya, what they're doing, I can't match up to them. They've been doing an awesome job on this. Squirrel, Howdy, just, I mean, there's been a lot better people at that than I am. I won't take any kind of credit saying that I've been working as hard as just as some other people, but I've been trying what I can when I find time. But yes, the Four Corners Rally is going to be a lot like State Party to an extent. There's going to be some different things, obviously, about it, but some of those things work. Kind of like camping, kind of like out of the wilderness, kind of almost somewhat of an outdoorsy kind of thing. I think a lot of that works. Some of the fun things we're going to have going on at the Four Cars Rally is going to be so fun. I can't wait. Bring swim trunks if you're coming. Please bring swim trunks.
I saw some psychotic post with a very large structure with tarps and bales of hay, and it appeared to be some sort of Evel Knievel style water slide for the Redneck Inclined. Was I seeing that right?
Yes, Kurt has been putting that together, and I cannot wait to nonstop riding that slide. I'm going tomorrow to help set up for tomorrow, and then Friday I'm not going to get off that thing. It is going to be so much fun. We got a whole bunch of bands going on. They cover different genres, but a majority of them are rock, and I can't wait. We've been working hard on this. When Sonya and Kurt came to our chapter back in spring, we knew going in this was going to be a gamble. That this whole event was going to be a gamble if we can even get it done this year. But it looks like it's getting done, and it's going to get done, and it's going to be fun.
And this event ties into A.B.A.T.E history, though, because this is where the original Chiggerfest was at, right?
Yes, this is where the original Chiggerfest was at, and then they moved it over to Route 66. Then Salt Creek came in and did the duck race, but that stopped 2 years ago. Members were moving out of state for a lot of reasons, health reasons, things like that. So, I mean, it's almost why people had to move, and then just there wasn't enough people in our chapter to continue. So Butch, who owns the pasture that we're going on to, he loves A.B.A.T.E. He knows how much hard we work at putting this stuff together, and he loves us.
All right, very, very good. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, there's another event that, Chris, you had brought it up. It was the Old Timers Ride, right? That's what it's titled?
Yep.
Okay. So I talked with Scott Carter earlier about that ride, and I thought I'd bring it up here while we've got Theo kind of hostage and on the spot, because it's a lot of fun for me. So what I found out about this ride is that it's not just an old timers type thing. What it actually is some original history of A.B.A.T.E. It's Ron Sloan's putting this on, and I'm hoping to have Ron on the show later in August. I'm looking at the 18th or the 25th for him. But he actually takes you out on the rides that they used to go on and show you how poker runs used to be handled when bikers weren't allowed in bars. When, bars thought that bikers were too much trash to have them in there. And I think that's a really cool perspective to see, to realize that just in the last 30, 40 years, this is how far we've come to where we weren't welcome in establishments to now just about every podunk bar out there tries bringing in bikers and bringing that in. But I just thought, well, I've got you, Theo. What do you think about that kind of a ride where you can learn about original history of this organization and see what those who were before us went through?
Well, as me as being a history buff that I am, I would love that. And for other riders that aren't, kind of my style and personality, I still think that'd be good for them to understand what came before them, whether it be A.B.A.T.E. or another MC or anything like that, just to understand what the history that came before them, because obviously they're riders as well. And there's nothing different between them and the people who came before them. So learn a bit about, riders and what they had to come up to and overcome. I think that would be good for new riders to learn and would be interested in.
All righty. Chris, can you think of anything else for Theo while we've got him hostage?
I got one more question for him, only because chapters are probably sick of listening to me harp on this for the last 7 months. But being that someone that's a younger president and the younger generation, I got to know, Theo, what are your thoughts on chapters and the state organization getting more involved in utilizing social media?
Oh, it's critical. It is so critical. Because if you're a young guy or a young gal and you're wanting to look up your local chapter, you already know about A.B.A.T.E. and things like that, and you can obviously go to your ABATE's or your the ABATE's of Illinois website. You can find the information on there, but you want to know about your chapter. And if they have no media presence, they're not going to know where they meet. They're not going to know where they're at. They don't know if they're good or not. I mean, if people have recommendations on their page saying, no, they're not good, or they're the best thing since sliced bread, younger people are going to want to know that. Because if a younger person wants to go to a restaurant, wants to go to an like an AutoZone or something like that, they want to find reviews. They want to find their presence online and see if it's worth it to go there. And if A.B.A.T.E chapter doesn't have at least a Facebook page, an Instagram page, something like that, young people aren't going to be really invited or enticed to go to their meetings or even just show up and see what it's all about. I mean, on our chapter, we've definitely have gotten a lot better on our Facebook page, just posting things just to let everybody know that we're alive. And I think more chapters need to do that, and need to let other chapters to know that they also have their stuff so that they can follow them and get the word out and just share with one another. Whether you only get 1 or 2, 4 shares, it's so critical to be on social media, because whether we like it or not, we all have our opinions on social media and things like that. But for a chapter to survive, or at least get new members or any members, definitely needs to be on, or have a presence with social media.
Theo, if I had a microphone, I'd drop it.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thank you, Theo. We're going to transition over here to the wrap up. Chris, you have yourself a good one. And like I said, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks, Wednesday, August 11th. Chris and I are going to take the next week off. We've both got a lot of things going on anyway. So we'll be back on August the 11th. But before we get that far, wrap up and your questions. I saw some comments down there that are of note. Eric Hanks checking in. Eric is the program, or the head of the program coordinator, I should say, for Illinois Central College, doing the motorcycle safety classes for the central and kind of north central regions of the state. I like to joke pretty much south of I-80, north of 72, and then plus the Rockford area as well, which is further north of I-80. He has some that's slightly north of I-80, but you get the general gist of the region that he's covering. It's pretty large. We actually hope to have Eric on sometime here in the next few weeks to talk about the MSF classes and what it's like to run those programs, because we think that would be interesting. I've got Lindsay checking in down there talking about how some bars don't allow colors down there. She's down in the southern Illinois area. By the way, Theo, she also recommends that you take some trips down to the Shawnee Hills area. I'll vouch for that. Shawnee is absolutely beautiful. There's some great roads down there. Don Huckstep checking in, encouraging you to have a great event this weekend. For those that don't know Donald Huckstep, he goes out and does professional cone riding or semi-professional cone events. If you've ever seen those events with the big cruisers that are speeding through the very tight technical stuff, he also does that as a demonstration / practice here in Springfield for people to get involved with. Then on top of that, our State Representative Dan Calkins checking in as well. It's always nice when our state representatives watch the program. I am not seeing too many questions or comments. Mary Jo, I see what you're asking about any chance of more training classes being offered. They do try to offer as many as they can with what resources they have available. And part of it is people have to show that they're willing to take advantage of it. I know that you're out near the Macomb area, and I know that they try scheduling as many as they can out there. Hopefully, when we have Eric on sometime in the next month or so, he might be able to address some of that as we go. Give me just one moment. Outside of any of that, those are all the comments that I am seeing this week. Like I said, we are off next week. We will be back on Wednesday, August the 11th, 8 p.m., right here on A.B.A.T.E of Illinois' Facebook page. We will have Robert Riddell, who is BOD rep from Blackhawk, joining us, Chris handling events, and hopefully take up any questions, comments, concerns you may have. If there are interviews that you want to see or things that you want to see on this show, email me. It's ski@abate-il.org. Or you can email Chris, public.relations@abate-il.org as well. Also remember, we are looking for bands that are trying to get their music out and heard. We're going to have to come up with an intro video for this. We want to use local bands or bands that are based at least in the state of Illinois. So if you've got a local band and you think that they might be able to contribute, put them in touch. Let's see what we can get put together. Until 2 weeks from now, this is Josh Wachowski, and this is Theo Graff. Theo, you got anything that you want to say before we get out of here?
Come to the Four Corners Rally. If you guys want to hang out with me, come find me. I have my camper out there. It's going to be one hell of a time.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been This Week in A.B.A.T E, and we will see you in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August the 11th. Have a good night.